Hi, I'm Chris. Thanks for spending time with me today. So Karina over at Life's Little Things opened a fall soup collab. And I got really excited about this. We like soups, especially during the winter months. My biggest issue is that I don't necessarily have a recipe or even a go-to recipe. Soup for me is, I've got some basics that I tweak and I don't really have a recipe. And I don't think they turn out the same way twice. So I decided I was gonna have to look for something that kind of was a recipe to start with. So I went to my one place, and that's Cuisine at home. So this is out of the Queen home. It's a butternut squash tortilla soup. It has a variety of wonderful fall flavors to it, but it also has a kind of a different flavor, and it's one of those meals you can get done pretty quickly. So thank you for Karina for hosting this challenge and letting me be a part of it. So this is butternut squash tortilla soup. Welcome. So I have got, this recipe just has a few different parts to it as you're making it. The first thing you're going to do is actually cook up your squash. I just roasted mine briefly. We'll end up using it two different ways when we're making it. This is about a medium squash. So to get my butternut squash ready, it doesn't call for roasted butternut squash, but it does call for kind of partially cooked butternut squash. I like to roast mine because I just think it changes the depth of flavor. I have only par baked these, so I cooked at 350 degrees for about a half hour. They haven't really caramelized much, but they'll have a little bit of that roasted flavor because the sugars have come out on it. I took a medium size butternut squash, cut it up, and then just diced it into small pieces. Since half of this will be used actually in the soup and will get chopped up in it, and the rest of it will it'll get smooth, not chopped. Then the other half will be actually in the soup as a flavoring agent. The one thing I want to talk about when it comes to butternut squash, if you've not used a lot of butternut squash or have not cut up one and yourself to cube up and just buy it prepackaged, some people have a slight allergic reaction to it on their hands. So don't be surprised if your hands turn orange and kind of scaly looking and kind of peely. I have that particular problem. It's not a big deal. I don't have any problem ingesting it. It's just something about the enzymes in the skin. And I just have to I usually frequently wash my hands to try and cut down on that. It doesn't hurt. It just, your hands look really weird and scaly. And then I usually use something else to help when I cut it as well. So yeah, there's the first part of the meal. Then I shucked 3 ears of corn. This is an onion that's just been roughly chopped, a couple of garlic cloves roughly chopped, and half of a very large jalapeno that was seeded. I'm going to take those 3 items, the corn, this, and those, put it in the food processor and let it kind of chunk up quite a bit. It's going to help thicken the sauces, the soup as it's going along. It'll end up being mostly creamy. When all that's done, I'm going to go ahead and heat my tortillas up. I'm going to chop them up into 2 or 3 of them into squares. I'll lightly fry those, and then I will end up adding this mixture to it, and then half of the So you can see that my tortilla has crisped up really nicely. Now I'm going to add in the tomatoes. Steaming up. then some tomato paste. And then this is that mixture, the corn mixture, and I've also got the cumin in there. I'm going to add that in, and then I'm going to let this saute up for about 5 minutes. I will end up adding chopped tomatoes into the mix, and then I'm using some homemade veggie stock here. You need probably 6 to 8 cups of that. I've got some more. I've got some heating up because it wasn't quite thawed. All of it wasn't. I have 2 containers of those. You can use chicken stock as well. I just had more veggie stock than I had chicken stock. So this has been sauteing now for about 5 minutes or so, and it's starting to, you can really smell it. It smells wonderful. This is primarily going to help thicken it. It's not just about the flavor, but it's also going to help thicken this as well. So at this point, I'm going to add my vegetable stock. And half of my butternut squash. This is going to boil now for about, we're going to let it come to a boil and then simmer for about 10 minutes. And then once that's done, I will go ahead and puree it. Then towards the end, I'll end up using I'll make up some ground turkey, and what else? I'll add ground turkey and the rest of the butternut squash to the mix, and basically that's it. It's actually one of those really quick recipes, probably only about, from start to finish, maybe an hour. Total for a good pot of soup, that's pretty impressive, and it's a good weeknight meal. So while my soup is still simmering away and thickening up, I'm going to go ahead and start grounding my turkey. I like to use the meat now, potato. So my turkey is completely ground up, and then I also have my leftover squash, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and put it into my soup so that all the flavors can meld together, and then after about another 10-15 minutes we'll be ready to plate it up. So here's the finished product. I should have neglected to mention is that you want to serve it with spinach. So basically just take some loose spinach underneath, and then ladle the soup on top of it, and as the soup will just warm it and mix that right in. You could also drizzle some lime juice over the top. That would be really good. So this is that tortilla butternut squash soup. Thank you for Karina for hosting this challenge. I really appreciate it, being a part of it. It's always fun to do these collab videos with folks. So yeah, that's what's for dinner.